Yo, what's happening, fan base? Today, we're here with a ton of people, because why not, talking about the appeal of One Piece. We have Anime Uproar, the usual host of the Rant Cafe, back from Cuba. What's happening?
Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm definitely excited to be back. I missed Rant Cafe. Missed you guys. Love you.
Don't know why your camera's off, but okay, we'll give it a pass.
Well, why is your camera off, Notch?
Well, I'm consistent, at least. Okay, good. So next we have All Day Anime, another usual member of the Rant Cafe.
What's up, guys? I feel like I'm the guy who usually like segues it into One Piece, so like I'm very excited for today.
And we
honestly don't even know what I want to talk about.
Right. And we also have the One Piece exclusives and the elites of YouTube. We have Roger's Base, the king.
I'm an elite?
Yes, absolutely. I'm telling you, every time a new chapter of One Piece comes out, I wait for your live reaction to watch it with you.
I appreciate that. Thank
because
you.
It feels better. It just comes out way better. And I'd read the whole thing in like 3 minutes. So
would he be categorized as like a Yonko and then like...
Yeah, Roger's like one of the Yonkos of YouTube. Absolutely. We also have Best Guy Ever.
So like I was saying, Joy Boy, I am coming to your house. I am taking you out next time I see you, goddammit. I'm just kidding, guys. What's up? Hey, how's everybody doing?
Yeah, great. And we also have Flying Panda, the One Piece theorist extraordinaire.
Hey guys, how's it going? Yeah, I'm not Yonko like Roger there. He's a legend.
You're like
the Pirate King. I'm just the guy in the corner. By the way, who are you guys?
Who, us?
Yeah, I don't know you guys. I just been got lost in the traffic and I found you guys by accident. Oh well, just kidding, just kidding. Bad humor, bad humor. I'll shut up now.
Oh, it's okay. He's British. It's okay. Bad humor is okay.
Don't worry, I'll get my cup of tea in a second. 1 second.
Right on. I think you and Adamak will get along.
Oh yes.
Yeah, right.
Solid humor.
So, Roger, this is your first time here, I guess. Would you like to begin?
Yeah. So I'm still wondering what we're talking about. I know we're talking about the appeal of One Piece, but that's like a really broad topic.
It
so
is a broad
narrow
topic.
This down for me a little bit. Like,
but it kind of stems out from. It kind of stems out from one point, though. Like, what's that one part of One Piece that talks to you that brought you into the whole show?
Okay, so for me personally, it's the world building. I think Oda does such a good job of sort of setting up these characters and setting up these exciting stories that sort of get paid off like years from now. And it's funny that I'm the one saying that because I think that's actually my biggest issue with the current story arc in the manga is that things aren't really getting paid off. But, you know, I have faith in Oda and I feel like a lot of the time he ends up setting up these really cool storylines, introducing these characters. And then as we saw at the end of the first half of the story with Marineford, you had all these characters in one place and you finally get to, you know, find out their motivations and the overall world. And you get to see how they interact with each other. And that's the most exciting part of One Piece to me. It's the mystery and it's sort of seeing how everything sort of fits together. So,
yeah. Like one thing I love about One Piece, every arc has just so many things that kind of billiard into each other and just make a whole domino effect that broadens the whole horizon. Even while we're focused on, let's say, one arc, we kind of know what's happening in Wano or in the opposite end of the universe, and something's growing there.
Hey, you know, that's a great point. I want to bring up a point that's kind of a more subterranean foundational principle that kind of builds into what you're saying about the world building being such a great part of One Piece, which of course we would all understand is absolutely incredible. It is, you know, One Piece was inspired by Vicky the Viking, this old cartoon that Oda loved when he was a child, which was just about Vikings traveling from island to island, having adventures here and there. I'm sure everybody here knows that. But the thing, well, now you know. The thing that I think was best captured over and is really the main core of the emotional center of what makes One Piece great is, and of course we'd all understand this, the spirit of adventure. You know, like what is the thing that began all of One Piece? Page 1, chapter 1 of One Piece. It's Roger's grand call to adventure that is the inspiration for everything that happens. So don't get me wrong. I would of course admit and go on at great length, like I'm doing now, about the wonderful individual world building that happens from island to island. But there's a reason why, for guys like me, Skypiea is the greatest arc in all of One Piece, because more than any other arc.
Wait. For guys like I am with you. I think it's one of the top 5 best arcs in the entire storyline. So
well, there's a problem.
What's happening?
Not top number one. Right,
Oh my god.
Well, that's great. That's great. Because the reason is simply because it is a real otherworldly journey that we jump into when we go to Skypiea, and at no other point in the story does the spirit of adventure soar to such unbelievable heights. Like everything about the Jaya setup to the Skypiea arc, where there's rumors that it doesn't even exist. The very first thing we see at the beginning of the Skypiea arc is that quote from some made-up philosopher in One Piece that anything that could be possible is real, or like is possible somewhere out in the world. And it's that spirit that vaults us to such incredible heights along that arc. So don't get me wrong, I love Whole Cake Island. You know, to certain extents, I can appreciate a lot of what happened in Dressrosa. But like arcs like Little Garden, aren't, I'm not saying there's a ton to like meditate on in Little Garden specifically, but to go to an island that is first of all covered with dinosaurs, okay, awesome. But second of all, like the way that everything's recontextualized when you get into Little Garden, as it's called Little Garden because giants hang out there, and it just, this whole world expands. On every new island, there's a new adventure. So rather than, I don't know, like I say that Skypiea is the best, but really none of them are the best. What's the most important thing is the spirit that inhabits everything from start to finish, from the entire 20-some years that the series has been going, the 15 years I've been reading it. It's that fundamental quest for adventure that makes it such a magical series, and that's why it has stood the test of time. It has that central vision, which something like Naruto, Bleach, Toriko, don't get me wrong, they got a lot of pluses, but they lack this grand vision that allows it to keep going for so long and always have something original to say. It's like the guy who makes JoJo says, guy goes out, Araki. Guy goes out, has a great life, writes a great manga about it. And like not Osamu Tezuka, but fucking Ghibli boy, guy who made Ghibli. Miyazaki. What Miyazaki always advocates for yeah, but my mistake. Like he always says, like he hates people object to this, but they say that he doesn't like the fact that like anime making these days has become so insular and so incestuous with just people who are into anime, make anime that inspires other people to make anime, blah, 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 down the line we go. But One Piece, the thing that turns some people off about One Piece is like the cartoony art style. It's such an outlier in terms of, looking like an anime. A lot of people, that's why the 4Kids see it and they're like, oh, this is a little baby cartoon. Let's replace all the pistols with water pistols and put fucking hammers on trampolines. Yeah,
I would want a hammer like that though.
I mean, it's pretty great, but it's like it's
and the
all
4Kids dub did give us the best theme song in the entire history of One Piece.
Well, I
know controversial, but I will honestly say that is the one good thing about the 4Kids dub is the One Piece rap is actually amazing. Because I love all the songs that are in like the actual Japanese version of One Piece, but I do feel like whenever you hear those songs localized for an American audience, it never sounds right. And for whatever reason, I just feel like the One Piece rap really does encapsulate the English-speaking audience of One Piece really well.
That's hilarious. If I would pick one thing I like about the 4Kids One Piece, it's watching Tekken cringe over it.
Right, yeah.
That's my hands-down favorite part.
Well, I don't know. I pretty much summed up my shit up. So, yeah, somebody please take the floor.
So when One Piece came out,
it was good.
When the 4Kids came out with the lollipop in Sanji's mouth, that messed up the storyline big time in London. So everybody's like, yes, the Dragon Ball Z hype happening like that. Everybody's getting excited. Then One Piece comes. I'm telling all my mates, guys, One Piece is here in London. Brilliant. Let's check it out. Then you see Sanji with a lollipop. And they look at me. What's wrong with these images? It looks quite weird. But it's a bit cartoony. No, that's not cartoony, mate. It's actually great anime. You must check it out. I rather watch Naruto. Are you kidding me? Watch One Piece, guys. And then that's what happened. So you have to actually promote One Piece because back in the days, it was the big three: Naruto, Bleach, and One Piece. But when Naruto become boring after the war arc and then Bleach becomes just boring in general, One Piece continued to have a storyline which influenced people because it's always based on real-life events. Things like Impel Down was based on 9 Circles of Hell. Things like, those dwarfs are based on the Gallon's Reach. So those kind of things you compare to other stories, it makes you more interested. Even historic facts like Blackbeard and so on. This is why One Piece is so amazing. It's different from every anime. And makes it why me and Roger love so badly is because it makes it fun that you can try to predict what could happen in the future.
Right. And I love doing that, and I love seeing how the characters correlate to real events, but I don't feel like that in itself makes One Piece great. That's just like a cute added bonus.
Yeah, your opinion is shit, dude. You should get the fuck out of here. As nuts as it is. I would nuts. That's the wrong answer.
Tumbleweed.
So,
No, it's not the wrong answer. It's just a different answer that's less good.
It's passion. It's passion. Full of passion.
Nux, did you mention that Anime Uproar, so Animac, hasn't seen One Piece? So
I didn't. I was wondering how far we could get in this stream.
I feel like the whole point of this stream should be to convince Anime Uproar to watch One Piece. If we could do that, I think we did a good job.
Why the fuck am I here featuring Anime Uproar?
You're here because you just got back from Cuba.
You should also not watch One Piece first.
That's true.
Well, you know what's interesting though? It's actually interesting to have a guy who's not familiar with One Piece here, because like you were saying before, we could try to salvage the reputation that One Piece has in the West right now. The sad reality is One Piece will never be as popular as it had the chance to have been, and I think the fact that it is actually does stand out, like artistically from something like Bleach or Naruto. Like Westerners do not understand animation on the same level that like the Japanese do. So when they see One Piece, just like what happened with 4Kids, they assume a lot of stuff about it. So, and there's a very small window when a series like breaks into a new demographic. Like there's a chance it'll either get caught up or, get ignored or whatever. One Piece has had its reputation permanently stained in the West, but I think there still is a chance for like a slow build back up to popularity. And frankly, in the last couple of years, like now that, 4Kids is dead and all that, I mean, that was a while ago, but like the rise of guys like us, I think online, actually, like, I don't know, like on my channel, the podcast, right, exclusively talk about One Piece, like people are like finally getting it when they hear me rant for like hours at a time about how good a single chapter is. And people are slowly starting to wake up and being willing to put in the commitment to read the 900 chapters that are out now, because that's another barrier to entry. So,
the size in itself is a barrier. But as far as what you were saying with the slow build up, I do think it's for sure happening. But also an issue is the start of One Piece is slow. Like the beginning is not as capturing. Yes, it is.
I'm gonna hop in on this really quick because I think there's a really easy solution to this, even though I just recommended that he start reading it instead of watching the anime. I would honestly say, and I know a lot of people are going to disagree with me on this. They're going to be like, what are you talking about? This skips so much stuff. If you have never seen One Piece before, just watch episode of East Blue. Seriously, because it wraps up, I think, because it wraps up the first 100 chapters, the first 100 episodes really nicely, hits on all the major points. And if that catches your interest, then I think that will probably lead you to go back and reread that stuff later on. But I think it does a really good job of introducing the characters. It's like an hour long. It's like an hour, maybe an hour and a half long. So it's great because then you could sit down and in 90 minutes get would have otherwise taken you 50.
Okay. I got a challenge to that though. Do you think the kind of person who requires watching episode of East Blue instead of committing to reading like the 100 chapters, are they really the type of person who's going to be prepared for the eternity of reading that is One Piece? I think there is a barrier of entry to here, but again, like the core premise of all of One Piece, and maybe I'm getting a little stuck in my own dick here, but the core idea of the entire series is it's about the journey, not the destination. So yeah, there's a little bit of a slow start, but there's stuff to love from chapter 1 of One Piece. It's hilarious.
You're right.
We get guys like us get lost in the fact that like, is Luffy top 5? Is Judge top 5? Shout out to my boy King of Lightning. I love you. And we forget about how much joy there is every chapter of One Piece and how much little stuff there is to appreciate moment to moment. And yeah, I totally agree, things build. And now for guys like us who have been reading for like a decade or longer, every chapter is an orgasm, or maybe shorter for other people. It's an orgasm of joy every chapter. Because
all right, let's not go overboard here. The most recent arc is not a chapter over.
Whoa!
It's not.
What?
This story arc of One Piece has so many issues, and I don't really want to get into a debate right now, considering this is like the appeal of One Piece episode. But I feel like there are so many people who are defending Oda who really shouldn't be defending him during this arc. I think this is the biggest issue that the community is facing right now. That because everybody's trying to get their friends into One Piece, that they're sort of not stepping back and being like, okay, Oda has done better than this current story arc.
Absolutely, Oda has done better. There are 5 arcs, probably for sure better than Big Mom.
Sure, okay,
Whole
okay.
Cake. But
And there's amazing moments.
there are amazing moments, and Katakuri's an amazing villain. I love
Katakuri
him.
is the greatest villain in
Absolutely.
the entire series,
Best villain in One Piece.
more or less.
But aside from that, let's put that all to the side for a second.
Yeah.
You mentioned something on Twitter, Roger, that you needed to. I don't know if I totally agree. You needed to sort of be a checklist. Everything needs to pay out, or whatever your wording was.
That's not true, though. It's not. Let me actually read the tweet. I will pull up the tweet right now for you because I had this argument on Twitter and so many people were coming at my throat.
While you pull that up,
It's right here. It's already right here.
Okay.
So I said, for as awful as the Birdcage and Rebecca were, when I look back on Dressrosa, pretty much everything paid off. Ace's Fruit gave us Sabo, the Colosseum gave us the Grand Fleet, Law gave us the Corazon flashback, Luffy and Doflamingo gave us Gear 4, and Fujitora gave us Reverie setup. I really am just holding out hope that Whole Cake Island manages to do the same in the short time that we have left. It's tough to stay positive in the face of all the payoffs that were botched this arc, but I'm trying my best. Worst case scenario, Whole Cake Island still gave us some amazing moments like the Big Mom songs, Brooke versus Big Mom, the subsequent rescue of Brooke, the Tea Party, Big Mom's flashback, Sulong Carrot, Luffy versus Katakuri, and the introduction of the underworld leaders. And so somebody responded to me, this was actually one of my sponsors, Vince, and he said, I'm sure you've said this in the past, but what would you say has been massively botched in this arc? Call me crazy, but I've enjoyed the ride from start to finish. Now, mind you, what I'm about to say, I'm reading this right off my Twitter, what I'm about to say obviously is not fact. You could enjoy the arc, and that's fine. But I think it's important to be able to have a discourse as opposed to just being like, well, you're wrong. I enjoyed it. And so this arc is fantastic. And so some of the things that I brought up are, one, the Vince Smokes, despite being set up throughout the course of this entire story arc, only got a single chapter to show off their powers. Cracker and Katakuri got full fights, and yet we get introduced to Smoothie, who does absolutely nothing. Spoiler if you haven't read 901 yet, but Jinbei officially joins the crew and then immediately leaves again. Now, it makes sense, but this isn't the first time that this has happened. Multiple chapters in Whole Cake Island ended with the exact same cliffhanger, i.e. Big Mom's going to catch us for real this time, we're done for, and almost every time, including chapter 900, which most of us absolutely loved, everything turned out fine. And on top of that, too many new characters were wasted versus fleshing out the characters he already introduced. And I think the two chapter cliffhangers that perfectly represent my greatest issue with the arc are from chapter 876 and 885. If you are not familiar with those chapters, go back and take a look at them. They are the exact same picture of Sanji saying, I'm going to make a cake that's going to knock out Big Mom. It took 9 chapters in this arc to end up in the exact same place. And I think that is the biggest issue with this arc. It's not that the arc is bad, and it's not like there hasn't been a lot of really good moments. It's just that, to me, having read the rest of One Piece, it is very clear that Oda was padding out to chapter 900. Well, and we got to chapter 900, and it really didn't pay off at all. How long did we wait for Sanji to make that cake for Big Mom? And then ultimately, it amounted to one chapter where it seemed like, oh my God, Oda's really going to take the story for a loop. And then the next chapter, oh, no, Watatsumi swallowed them. Everything's fine. And that it wouldn't be an issue if it didn't happen so many times during this story arc. But I think the issue here is that Oda sort of peaked during the wedding. I would argue the wedding, like from the very beginning to the moment that the cake fell, was absolutely fantastic. Every one of those chapters, the setup of the characters, Sanji having his moment, the Big Mom flashback, the stuff with Capone, the introduction of Katakuri and the underworld leaders. There was a lot of really good stuff that was sort of packed into that string of 10 chapters that felt to me like a typical Oda ending to an arc. And now where we are in the story, it doesn't really feel like that. Now, mind you, I haven't read 902 yet. That comes out relatively soon, so we're going to find out soon.
And I'll read it with you, but no problem. My pleasure. But I don't completely agree.
Which is fine. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Look, I don't love the Whole Cake Island arc. And there are a plethora of problems with the arc altogether. One big one being, I don't like Big Mom as a villain. That is...
Big Mom is the single greatest character, aside from Katakuri, introduced, I mean, truly fleshed out in this. You know what? How much we can go into this. We can go into this all day about how all the positive and negatives of Whole Cake Island. Because, Roger, I actually completely agree with you on everything you just said. I'm sure there's some small points that we have slight points of difference on. Sure. I would simply say that I think the positives outweigh the negatives all told. I have massive problems with all kinds of stuff. I mean, everybody who listens to the podcast will tell you I go on at excessive length about my problems with, for example, Jinbei's inclusion into the crew and how awkward I felt it has been, and how many assumptions I feel were being made on the part of the audience's willingness to accept him as a full-fledged member, despite repeated, I don't know, confusion as to his actual role, and then only to have him not stay with the crew when it's finally time for him to become one of the family, to then send him away to do something else. Absolutely baffling, unless, and this is what I think it all hinges on, and again, I am so much with you in that I want to go chapter to chapter and review things as they go, but I always want to give Oda just that last little bit of time, because it seems like, from what the editors have said, I think I read this somewhere, that 902 is going to be the final chapter of the Whole Cake Island arc, more or less officially. And if that is the case, and I'll find out if that's true or not tomorrow or whenever it comes out, then like, maybe that will answer just some of our issues. For example, Big Mom is currently hot on the tail of the Straw Hats. Right now, that seems like like we just wasted our fucking time, because we gave her the cake and she's immediately back on her feet like one chapter later. What the hell was the point of all this? Well, that question may legitimately be answered next chapter. I have theories that, like, maybe Pudding. Okay, like, one of my biggest problems with this arc is that Pudding's devil fruit is among the most broken, overpowered fruits in the entire series, and like, nothing was done. It's embarrassing how little was done with that devil fruit. And so I have a little like theory that Pudding was heavily involved in the making of the wedding cake. Maybe something went down with her devil fruit and the cake. If so, that'll settle two of my big issues, like the cake being literally useless, and then also Pudding's devil fruit, not being totally underplayed the whole arc.
Right.
So I'm totally happy to go through any of these details one by one, but maybe some of them will be answered. So I really want to do a post-mortem once the whole thing's wrapped up, because we all know Oda throws crazy curveball at us all the time.
Yeah, and dude, I am right there with you, because I feel like, I do want to take a look at this after the arc is finally over and sort of do a post-mortem and do like an arc review. But I don't know. I just feel like everybody, the entirety of this arc, has been defending it, being like, "Oh, well, Oda's building up to something big at the end.
There's nothing
something big at the end." And this is the first time in the history of the series. And again, I've read this since Arlong Park, so like, I feel like I've been with this for the long haul. This is the first time in the series that I feel like, actually, I don't feel like that's going to happen right now. And again, it could. And I have faith that even things that aren't paid off during this arc will eventually be paid off later, because that's how Oda is. But at the same time, it's like, and I'm also 100% with you. I think the positives outweigh the negatives this arc. I still think it's pretty good.
It's still One Piece after all.
Exactly. But I have massive problems with it. And I found that something
better than Skypiea.
Well, no. But I feel like the issue the community has faced right now is that, and you could, argue with me on this, but I feel like the people who are consuming One Piece content on YouTube are no longer looking for criticism. They're looking for people to be like, "Oh my God, this was amazing. This was so good." And I've always been a very positive person. I found a lot of joy in reading each chapter. But at the end of the day, if you're going to a review and you're critiquing that somebody's criticizing the arc, it's understandable if maybe you miss a fact. People don't want to hear that, right? They want to be like, "Well, I love this story arc, and you're not a mangaka, so you don't know what he's doing." But it's but I've consumed the content my whole life, so I could easily compare this to something else that he's done. And people just don't want to do that right now. I think because there's so much negativity in the world, people are always looking for that little spot of positivity. And I think sort of One Piece right now is facing the same issue that The Last Jedi faced last year, right? Last Jedi was this really divisive Star Wars movie, and a lot of people in the fandom really didn't like it. And then you had the people who genuinely felt like they loved it, defending the movie at all costs, even when there's nothing to really defend, being like, "Well, no, this is amazing. You just don't understand like the greater picture of things."
Mark Hamill himself talking shit on the movie that he was in.
And and I don't think there's an issue with that. You could, like, people are so quick to want to defend something that they love because they like to take things personally. And I think so many people now are taking the things that they are consuming personally, and they really shouldn't. You need to take a step back and be like, "No, this is just something that I'm consuming as a fan of this series. And if I like it or you like it or whatever, it shouldn't matter. It shouldn't, like, my being critical of this arc shouldn't hinder somebody else's enjoyment of One Piece." You know what I mean?
Baby, you're saying all the right things to me right now.
People are being at this arc, actually. Like, there's been so many bad arcs in the past. Like, I love One Piece. I'm biased when it comes to One Piece, but like, there's been like Thriller Bark, Fishman Island. I've been reading this for over a decade. I don't know why. I feel like people are being overcritical of this new arc.
Of Whole Cake Island, right?
Some people may be critical because we haven't feel satisfied. Like if talking about
well,
the cake,
you know, I mean,
I think it doesn't help too. I think it doesn't help that we just came off of one of the best arcs in the entire series with Zoe. So I think like that probably does not help that we had a really different story. Like even the way that the story was told.
You're talking about Dressrosa, right? Not Zoe.
No, I'm talking about Zoe. Wait, do people here not like Zoe?
Zoe was incredible.
Zoe was okay. So we're all in agreement. Yeah, Zoe was
most of us are in agreement.
Wait, so who doesn't like Zoe?
I don't hate Zoe. It just wasn't that special.
Excuse me, the moment where fucking Ninja Boy is revealed to have been there the entire time is one of the most incredible moments in the entire series.
Kidding me.
You're talking are you kidding me right now? Come on.
No one's out with the funny clip as well. It's amazing. That arc is one of the best ones.
The fucking minx, the dedication. The resilience of those minks, the fucking dedication they have to their fucking, the pledge of loyalty they had is among the most inspiring, moving things in the entire series. They were all willing to die to protect him.
I mean, when we got the low poneglyph at the end of all of that then leads to Raftel, like,
yeah, what a payoff.
The kind of stuff I'm talking. That's the kind of payoff I'm looking for. That's something that's not immediately answered.
And you know what?
They got Whole Cake Island. They got some poneglyphs from Big Mom.
Well, hey, I mean, to Roger's difference. Like,
go ahead.
You always want to think about like the climactic structure of an arc. Like Oda really does like to do the big finish at the end, and like most arcs do have that. You know, like for even an arc that's generally disliked. I mean, how about Thriller Bark? You know, some people don't like Thriller Bark, but how about that fucking ending with Kuma and Zoro and all that crazy shit? And not to mention,
you're right.
The fucking
that scene was great.
And then even beyond
that one moment was amazing. Does that make the whole arc great?
Well, no, that's not what I'm saying. But Roger is reaching a specific criticism that he feels like the end of this arc is going to be flaccid. And like even another arc that's disliked, Fishman Island. Fishman Island, like I have my problems with. I don't really like the tension of a ship falling on a place that you have to like blow up. That doesn't have a lot of emotional connection for me. But the moment of the big fish bitch, the fact that she turns out to have been Poseidon and that like she does this magical thing involving the Sea Kings in this like mystical way and Luffy we learn can like talk to them in some spiritual connection thing. Like that's an incredible finish to that arc, not to mention all the payoff with Big Mom that happens like right after we finish. So I mean, what could possibly be done to elevate specifically the arc of the Straw Hats fleeing for their life, having left one of the new members behind, running away from Big Mom? Like, what grand narrative could be exposed in the one final chapter we have? Frankly, I hadn't really thought about it, but it's a fair point. It seems like they're going to kind of just eke their way out.
Right. And I think what you just brought up with the stuff with Shirahoshi, right? Or the stuff we just brought up with Zoe, those are things that were not immediately paid off. The payoff was the reveal of a new mystery. And that's the most exciting part about One Piece, like what you mentioned earlier, right? Yeah. It's the spirit of adventure.
Hey, we're getting back to the appeal of One Piece.
Yeah, there we go.
I did that on purpose, obviously.
Nicely done.
My job. I need to try to bring
nice.
Back. But like that encapsulates what I love about this series. And I think that sort of speaks to my greatest issue with Whole Cake Island. It is that the payoff that was sort of like set up during this arc, the stuff with even Luffy versus Katakuri, for example, right? We have chapter after chapter of Luffy versus Katakuri. And then finally the one chapter where we're going to see the finale of Luffy and Katakuri, their final punches off screen, and you don't see what happens. They're just both laying on the ground. The stuff with Jinbei at the end of this, like, again, we might get some explanation of what happens to Jinbei soon, you know, maybe during the next chapter. But if Jinbei ultimately, you know, it ends on a cliffhanger where, is Big Mom going to kill him? That's not going to be appealing to me because it's not something that's not something in regard to the greater world building. That's something in regards to a specific character.
It baffles me.
This is my greatest issue is that like, if you look at the payoff for a lot of the other arcs, it's setting up for greater mysteries than just, what is that character going to do in the future? I guarantee you, when we get to Wano Country, when we get to Reverie, when we get to Elbaf, the last thing I'm going to be thinking about is, what was Smoothie's power? I wonder what Snack looks like. That's not stuff to pay off 3 arcs from now. I'm not going to care about that 3 arcs from now. We're going to be knee deep into whatever the Road Poneglyph was saying. We're going to find out more about Wano that Oda's been setting up for since the very beginning of the story, before the beginning of the story with his monster one-off. So that's again my biggest issue with it. And again, goes back to the appeal of the series being the spirit of adventure and setting up new mysteries, as opposed to just the payoff being, oh, well, what's going to happen to this character? Because ultimately, that's not what's interesting to me. If it's what's interesting to you, great, that's fine. I don't want to take that away from you, but you know, I'm making my point known.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Best guy and Roger, you guys would have been satisfied if chapter 900, that was the Sunny in the water being destroyed. Would you guys have been satisfied with that cliffhanger?
Well, no. I mean, if the Sunny was destroyed, listen, there was, in my mind, listen back to my fucking prediction. There was literally zero chance that had actually happened, because I'm too genre savvy about these things. All the importance that was placed on the fact that this is the ship of the Pirate King when it was made back in Enies Lobby Water 7, it made it literally impossible that the Sunny had actually been destroyed. There was no chance. Plus, like, the way that it's structured, you just know when, like, a character is actually dead, and, like, that's not how this was going to go down. So honestly, for everybody loved chapter 900. For me, I did not love chapter 900. Like, I at no moment did I think that any of this was real. I was like, okay, this is either a dream or it's some bullshit about, like, it's a different ship, which is exactly what it was.
Right.
And that sucked. So,
going back to what Panda just asked you, though, was, you know, if the Thousand Sunny was actually destroyed, would you have enjoyed that chapter? And my answer very clearly to that is yes, because that would have thrown a wrench into things. That would have been again, I was with you. I didn't expect that the Thousand Sunny was actually destroyed. I've been reading the story long enough to know.
Significantly improved if the Sunny had been destroyed, all the Straw Hats had died, and Katakuri was our new main character for the rest of the series. That would have been pretty great. It would have been pretty great. I'll accept this too.
Well, speaking of Katakuri, he's going to be a big payoff from this arc, because he's definitely coming back, and he's
cover arc, man. Cover arc with Katakuri, no doubt, no fucking doubt.
See, I'm kind of feeling the next cover arc is going to end up being Peckham's, because we don't really know what's going to happen to Peckham's, and I don't really think that's something that's going to be paid off anytime soon.
Peckham's and Katakuri form their own fucking crew. That's what they gotta do.
I'm kind of thinking it's going to be Peckham's and Pedro. I think that's what we're going to find out. Pedro's alive.
Yeah,
I really do. Yeah, I think it's going to be.
So you also believe. So you were smart enough to know that Pedro's alive. You know. Okay, there you go, folks. There it is. The authority.
But my favorite is definitely the fish cake arc.
Yeah, the fish cake.
Good to have you here, Mac.
Fish Cake Island is the best one. But no, one thing I wanted to say about One Piece, as someone who knows a bit about it but hasn't gotten into it yet, and actually my brother has, so he's got at least the first 70 volumes, like in hard copy, I think even more. But he's got the big set with the 70, and then I think he's got even more. And I definitely will read the manga, and the reason it appeals to me is from a perspective as a writer, because I myself am a fiction writer. I haven't really focused on it much lately because of the whole YouTube thing, but I've published a bunch of stories in professional magazines, like science fiction stories, that type of stuff. And I'm trying to publish a novel, but I haven't found an agent yet. Also a science fiction kind of steampunk novel. So from a writing perspective, I look at what an interesting setup One Piece has, how successful it's been, how the world that it's created, where it's like you have this big overarching quest, right? The Goldie Rogers treasure. You have this huge world and different islands, where then it gives you the freedom as a writer to create all these different worlds within worlds, different islands, different types of people, different magical abilities. Excuse me. Yeah, so it's really like a writer's dream to create such a world, because it gives you so much freedom. So in that sense, I definitely have a huge respect for Oda, and definitely have huge curiosity to get into this. The barrier is that it's so long, but that's also kind of the appeal. It's like, how can it be so long and yet still so appealing?
That's exactly what I was going to say just now. It's like a lot of people actually raise as a criticism of One Piece inherently is that like you hear it all the time as like fans. It's like, oh, it's so long. Like, oh, they just go to a new island. But like I understand why people think that, because they're thinking about Naruto. They're thinking about Bleach. They think it's being approached in that same way, or like any series. Like the problem with Bleach when it comes to world building is that the world just doesn't matter. It's completely irrelevant. They go to a new world, doesn't matter.
It's a different setting for swordmen to clash.
But yeah, that's exactly right. And like with Naruto, the problem was like, as opposed to with Bleach, where the world had no character, in Naruto, the world was like, there were like countries, but in no way did that ever matter. It was completely irrelevant that those countries existed. In One Piece,
that's why early Naruto actually had this appeal that you're talking about.
Political stuff. Yeah, like
early Naruto was great. there was mystery as far as what was going to be going on in the future, but Shippuden didn't.
It changed
pan
focus.
out there.
I mean, yeah, they shifted gears a little bit, but like to his point there, it's like One Piece that does not get enough credit because One Piece did something that basically no other series, except maybe something like JoJo, did, and it's that it perfectly set up the exact right structure for an extremely long-running shonen. You know, JoJo just reinvents itself every time it comes back with a new part, which is, you know, its own way of handling stuff. But One Piece was just built in such a way that it could last as long as was necessary and have room to grow into itself. So the problems with a series like Bleach or Naruto is that they didn't set up their worlds and like, who cares about the world of Naruto? Has anyone ever thought about like how interesting and the deep lore of and like what is happening elsewhere in the world of Naruto? No, it doesn't matter in any way. But One Piece thought ahead, and it planned all this stuff. Like newspapers were about news of things happening elsewhere in the world were inherently, were integrally important to One Piece from the very beginning.
And fascinating for the readers as well.
Yeah. Yeah, and it gave us the best character in the series, Big News Morgans, definitely.
Damn right. I knew I liked this guy. That's what I'm talking about.
No, it is a good point, though. Especially in Sharpening Arc, we saw the strongest of each seas combining in one location, heading towards a new world. That's one of the best arcs, very true. And the potential of it. The only issue with Oda is he brings so many new characters into the series, yet they never fulfill their potential, if that makes sense. Just like Smoothie in this Big Mom's arc, going back to the Whole Cake Island, he brings a Smoothie, but never does anything with it. Because
that's too bad. That's too bad.
There's too many new characters.
I mean, I think
I kind of agree, but also in the real world, there are a lot of people that don't pan out too. Like, for example, the fact that the supernovas were brought up and some of them off screen were basically taken care of. I thought that was great. That showed that the world is moving even without our main characters.
I mean, that's true.
I think the big issue people have with Smoothie, though, I think the issue people have with Smoothie, going back to Whole Cake Island for just a brief second, is that Oven has done so much during this arc.
Yeah.
And it feels like if Oven was in the place of Smoothie as one of the commanders, then I think nobody would really have this issue right now. It's that Oven ended up making a name for himself in a way that pretty much Katakuri and Cracker did. I mean, he's the last one standing. Katakuri and Cracker are out right now. And Smoothie's the one that's like out on the sea, like slashing the air and not really doing anything. Meanwhile, Oven's like boiling the water, taking on the Vinsmokes, doing all this other stuff. And imagine if Smoothie was in that situation, like the one who was actually doing all this stuff that is a real threat to the Straw Hats. Smoothie
I love my boy Oda. I honestly think he has a little bit of an issue with female characters. I think he just doesn't think of them in the same way as he, like, look at like Rebecca and like this arc with Pudding and last Dressrosa with Viola. Those two characters had incredibly powerful devil fruits and they were completely impotent the entire arc. He just, when you get like a badass female character, you got to lower your expectations when it comes to One Piece, unfortunately. I'm not saying that's a plus. I'm saying that's a damn.
I know your wife is Robin,
negative,
but Robin has a crazy OP devil fruit.
She does. Yes, she does.
And
why has Robin not had a real one-on-one fight since
Skypiea?
What's going on with that?
To be fair, Robin is certainly less combat. Like every attack she does generates.
She's
I know, but assassins don't make for good One Piece arc. Like assassins do not make for good fights in One Piece.
Look, dude. Robin can have a hand or any extremity grow out of anyone's stomach.
But okay, Robin's power is
underused.
Robin's power generates a million more weaknesses for enemies to hurt her by her using it. So it's a very tactical fruit, which doesn't really make for great fight potential. Don't get me wrong. I want her to have fights.
If Oda gives her hockey, then it might get a little bit better.
Yeah,
but female characters don't get hockey.
Big Mom has hockey.
It would make sense for Robin to have hockey.
Rebecca had.
But speaking of Big Mom, and it's one of the things I don't love her as a villain. I know you're going to disagree.
Let's get into this.
The thing I do love about Big Mom is one of the things I love about One Piece. And it's that coming out of the Dressrosa arc into the Zoe arc, Sanji's gone. No one's happy. Big Mom was a force that was coming from the outside that screwed up the Straw Hats' entire plan of going to Wano, doing whatever, fighting. What's his face? Big dude with the mustache. Whatever his name is.
Yeah.
Yonko guy. But this force that they had no power over, they had nothing that they were able to do in this situation. It just sort of came and it wanted Sanji, so it got what it wanted because Big Mom's far more powerful than the Straw Hats. So that's the thing I like about. That's one of the things I love about One Piece. While our main characters are doing their thing, everyone else is in the entire universe. Also has their own battle plan.
Yeah.
And usually it doesn't affect the Straw Hats. The Straw Hats are growing, but from the start, they're just a speck in the world. They're becoming more and more famous, but as it's been going...
As the Straw Hats grow and become more of sort of a quote-unquote like global power, just as they gain allies and their reach sort of, touches out, like, for example, one of their allied crews, the Bartolomeo boys, just ran into a conflict with a village run by Shanks. How the fuck is that going to work out? I don't know, but I'm dying to find out. I'm sure that's going to be addressed in some way eventually.
Bartolomeo's awesome.
I mean, that's why the Reverie is so exciting to me. It's this, it's all these little storylines that are sort of being wrapped up and we're getting more information on that have been going on throughout the course of the rest of the story.
And that's what Big Mom is. That's what the whole Cake Island is. That it drove them off their path into this foreign land that they didn't want to be in.
I could get why someone would be frustrated by that. Like, they feel like Whole Cake Island is a big diversion. And frankly, I'd say that's true. And so Oda would need to work extra hard to justify doing this by making it so much fun and so much happens there. And I would totally understand if somebody like doesn't think that it reached that high watermark. Because like really we should be at Wano right now. Like that's where all the goals and focus were.
I think that's the issue too. Is expectations. It's managing expectations.
Well, yeah, you're right.
And the Poneglyph stuff was important, of course. But if you look at like what the editors were saying and what Oda was saying for such a long time, the editors were like, oh, we're getting to Wano this year. So everybody's like, oh, cool. Okay, so this is like a short little arc. And then, I don't know if you guys remember this, but the editors mentioned during the wedding that after the wedding, everything was going to be speeding by. They mentioned that the pace of the story was really going to pick up. Like, they had made this as an announcement at a Shonen Jump event that the pacing was going to speed up after the wedding, and it didn't happen. And so I think that, along with managing expectations,
well, they're using Dressrosa pacing
now. Wano and Reverie after that point, like they had done so many things where if they just kept their mouth shut, I think people wouldn't have an issue. But because they kept reiterating that we're gonna get to Wano, we're gonna get to Reverie, the pacing's gonna get better, and none of those things ended up panning out. I think that's the reason that we are where we are right now. You know, like if you didn't hear any of that information from the editors, I think you're probably going to end up enjoying this arc a lot more week to week. But if you do that kind of stuff and you're a YouTuber who follows all of that, then it's impossible to take that, out of your experience reading Whole Cake Island week to week.
It's very true what you said completely.
I do some One Piece content. I talk about what I find interesting and different analyses, whatever. I don't delve that deep in to follow the editors and all that. I wasn't tainted by that, luckily.
Right.
Well, but, because I cover everything.
I mean, if we're talking about like a relativistic view of enjoying One Piece, then like to be fair, who are we to question the speed D readers out there who just don't give a fuck about any of these details and just they read a chapter, they're like, oh yeah, Whole Cake Island, 10 out of 10, no flaws, it was perfect. I had fun. I mean, that's
an expectation though, because when he said Year of Sanji, so you expect Sanji to do something miraculous, amazing, but because the whole time we see Sanji. He's been crap, he literally, because of him, we're having this issue with Pedro, an issue with Jinbei. Most of the crew is damaged because of bloody Sanji. Because of that Year of Sanji bullshit. All the time.
Yeah, the Year of Sanji
we just lost.
I feel like they were just trying to hype us up for no reason.
I completely agree with Roger said just now. Because of these little edits, Year of Sanji, the one that was start last year. We get too excited and expectations.
It is a little bit. It's the expectations that get set are really the things that set you up for feeling like cheated or like things are going slower than you expected. Yeah, so that's all fair. That's a fair point.
But even looking at the stuff with Sanji too, if you look at the characters who have done the most during this arc, right? The characters that we look to being like,
Brook.
Oh my god, yeah, Brook,
hell yeah,
Brook, Jinbei, Pedro, Luffy against Katakuri, the one character who hasn't really had his moment aside from that time during the wedding where he stands on top of the table was Sanji.
Dude, I'm telling you, I thought
the whole thing during this arc was setting up the cake. And then when the cake amounted to nothing, then it's like, well, what the heck was all this for?
I still can't believe Sanji did not have a fight against
making the cake altogether. Let Big Mom destroy her own territory and then waste away into nothingness. I think that would have been maybe even more useful in the future.
What I thought was going to happen is when Big Mom ate the cake, she was going to be like, okay, I'm capturing Sanji. He's my possession now. I need to get it. I forget about anything else. He's my cook. Like,
but she didn't realize he made the cake.
That's true. That's a fair point. I also want to say, like, on top of what Roger said, I think if the arc was shorter, it was like an invasion, like a quick little grab the poneglyphs, grab Sanji, get the fuck out of here, have those cool little moments with Brook, and then move on to the Wano arc. I think would have been a better arc.
God,
like,
this was Brook's arc. I'm so happy with what Brook got to do this arc.
I mean, ultimately, if we look back at what happened,
he didn't do anything else the whole series.
Because the wedding had so many amazing moments in it, right? Where you had the setup of all these characters and all these little bits of payoff. Like, if the arc had actually ended at the wedding and the editors were honest and the arc really did speed up after that, we only had like 10 more chapters after the wedding. I realistically think we could have fit everything that was important in the other chapters that came afterwards into those 10 chapters.
Dude,
by
could
doing
you
one
believe
thing.
that Luffy left and then came back to fight Katakuri like again later?
Dude,
like,
why
did he write it that way?
At the wedding? Why didn't they go into the mirror world, have that fight happen, and then while Nami and the rest of them are escaping while the cake is falling, Luffy's having his fight with Katakuri? And some people want to argue like, oh, but he needed to be there to see Pedro sacrifice because that was sort of the
Pedro's alive, God
but
damn
Pedro's
it!
gonna be alive. So what's the point of all of that? Like,
I really hope that he's
exactly
not
my point.
alive.
Exactly.
I really hope that he's not alive.
I'm telling you, he's alive.
I also hope he's not. I know
he
he's
is.
probably going to be alive, but I also don't want him to be.
So
Fair
just to bring
enough, fair
things
enough.
back onto the appeal of One Piece. 'cause
Appeal of One Piece.
It's already like
Katakuri
we've been
is
talking a lot of.
amazing.
It's only
And
like 550.
Like I can honestly, I would not be surprised at all to see the arc ending with Big Mom, chasing the Straw Hats, Katakuri stopping her.
Oh man, I hope so. I hope so.
I mean, that would be amazing.
Like I have reasonings behind that also. I mean, obviously it's happening tomorrow and it's not gonna happen because whatever.
Right.
But because Oda doesn't like doing the fairy tale thing, I've noticed. Just like, oh, we just beat the bad guy, now he's gonna save us. Like he doesn't do that so much. But
Well,
as far
this
as
is the same guy who
going
let
to change
Pell
things up.
survive.
Yes.
Yeah.
As far as what we've seen so far from Katakuri, the philosophy behind his character is amazing.
Why you're definitely right that that's possible. Everything about Katakuri was built up from the very beginning of his first image, and like it's all consistent that he does not like these people. He doesn't belong with them. He does it out of obligation and
the entire ideology and the whole philosophy of Katakuri is that he is a guy who basically he looks down at everyone. Everyone looks up at him. Ooh la la, what an awesome guy! Because he does not trust his family, and this is the only thing he knows how to do since he doesn't have anything else. He doesn't harbor any other feelings towards them. So he fights Luffy, and he knocked Luffy down 100 times, and Luffy kept getting up. Luffy knocked him down once, and he was down for the count because he didn't have that, that power, the power of friendship, right? So he didn't have that pushing him back to his feet.
I will say I loved the final line of the fight, right? Which is when he's looking at Luffy and he says, "You're going to come back here one day and you're going to beat Big Mom, aren't you? I could see it." And he's like, Luffy's like, "Yeah, of course I am." And then Katakuri's like, "Yeah, I believe it," and falls over. It's like, I thought that was really cool.
For me, the biggest moment,
telegraphing seeing the future, and then for him to sort of be like, "Oh yeah, Luffy is going to come back one day and beat Big Mom." Then it's like, oh, that's a pretty neat way to set up, again, something that's going to happen later on in the story in a way that actually makes sense.
I doubt he'll be coming back to Whole Cake Island. I think more likely
not within
we'll bump into
the main.
Okay, fine. Maybe not within the main story.
I mean, imagine considering the pacing of One Piece, there was no chance Luffy comes back before like some sort of weird time skip around, like before a final battle at the very end of the series or something. Like
when they're looping back, I could see them maybe stopping at all the islands from New World, like as they're looping back to go to Marijoa after Raftel. I could see that happening, and then one by one they're going through
Big Mom
territory.
just chasing him throughout, like you got away, I'm gonna track you down, and like
that's possible too.
That'd be awesome. Yeah,
I could see that happening in a different place. I don't see them coming back to Whole Cake Island.
No,
that island was used up.
Yeah, it is. It is used up. It's boring now,
and he's not gonna. There's nothing exciting about dancing trees anymore.
You're right.
I do wonder if Big Mom and her crew are going to become the Team Rocket of the rest of the story of One Piece, right? They're just like they're constantly chasing them, but they're never quite there, and they really want to catch up.
Last stop again. Talking about teams, I'm quite disappointed about Joma 66 though. Really, those Power Rangers, I expect so much from those guys. I was expecting right in the end, I was like, yes, these guys will show their worth. And you see,
no, I was certain that Germa was going to join Luffy's fleet. Like I was certain.
Maybe they still will.
No, they still might. They'll still show up.
I cannot believe that. I mean, they didn't get shit for fights. They got everyone got one moment to show off their cool light, fire,
they have
stupid
powers.
But, I cannot believe that Sanji didn't fight and get to triumph over all his brothers, showing that, you know, he's better than them, you know, now that he's a real boy or something. Like, I so went into this arc with the expectation that he was going to prove that he's better than them, which he sort of did via.
I feel like we got that one
stuff.
scene though.
One by the wedding.
Yeah, we got one scene. It's just we can all agree that they got so much less screen time than. I'm not even saying less screen time. It's just we didn't do anything with the goddamn Gamma 66. We didn't do.
And
shit.
that's another thing too that I think Oda set up really early in this arc after the wedding happened, where, you know, Germa's on that other island and they're falsely reporting in that like, Germa was taken out. So then you're expecting like, okay, Germa's going to show up at some point. So Oda is setting the expectation that this is going to happen. There's going to be some big moment for Germa, and then when Germa finally comes back, it amounts to one chapter of them doing one attack each.
Yeah.
And then 2 chapters later, in chapter 900, getting wiped out by these magic bullets that a lot of people assumed was maybe like a hallucination of Big Mom's. No, they were actually just wiped out by these bullets. It's like, well, then what was the point of setting up all of this?
Don't worry, Sanji's sister will be fine.
I'm sure they will be fine, but it's
they
just
don't kill characters, especially female characters.
Yeah, well, you're not wrong. Except Bill Mayer, rest in peace.
Who's that?
Flashbacks are off. Flashbacks are off. You know.
Flashbacks are unfair. If they're dead before we start, then you know.
Hey. Even I know that the one chick with the Logia fruit died.
Monet.
Oh, yeah, right.
That's true.
Okay, well, she was kind of a furry, so
she's not dead, and she's joining the crew. God damn it! Just give it one more chapter. I swear, at the end of this chapter, it's finally. They have to have a female in the Logia.
I firmly believe she's dead, and her fruit is going to Carrot or Nami.
You guys just got taken to school by a guy who hasn't read One Piece.
Who the fuck just said that Nami is going to eat the goddamn Yuki? She's not eating the fruit. Get the hell out of here.
I firmly believe with everything
tangerine
foreshadowed during Punk Hazard, with Monet dying, those weird bunnies appearing into the ship, and then nothing ever happened from it. It happens to be a fruit after it was set up during Punk Hazard. That the fruit, like the powers transfer to the nearest fruit. The nearest fruit on Punk Hazard are the Changerines of the Thousand Sunny. Dude, and you've got Carrot, who is a literal snow bunny, who has a dude, it's set up so many times.
My friend, have been watching too much Joy Boy. That's
man. That was my theory. That wasn't even Joy Boy's. Oh my god! No, I firmly believe that. I think Carrot or Nami is going to get the fruit.
I don't know. Honestly, I hope Carrot doesn't stay with them. I don't like her.
No chance.
She better join the crew. I'll be pissed.
Zero chance.
I do not think she's joining either.
She's not joining. Hopefully, and probably not.
If Pedro is actually dead, then I could see her joining the crew. But if Pedro's actually alive, then I could see her maybe making a new Nox Pirates with Pedro and Peckham.
Yeah, the Nox Pirate.
If the rumors are true, and Oda did in fact die, and they're propping him up as just like the huge industry that One Piece is, and all the editors are writing One Piece now, then I'll say that's possible.
We'll see.
That's my asterisk.
That was too sad, man.
Well, hey man, the truth is out there.
Anyways, though, we love One Piece. So why do we love One Piece so much?
That's true.
So we talked about world building. So like, how about the characters? I feel like I could bring it down to 3 things as to why I love One Piece. The world building, which we went into, I think it's the only one that set up this grand adventure. Like it's the only one that's set up to be long, unlike Naruto, Bleach, etc. Second for me is the characters. I love every character. I feel like I'm part of the crew.
Every character.
I do. I don't like 90% of the characters. Okay.
Okay, I'll give it to you.
But like
every Straw Hat.
It doesn't exactly.
Sure. Except
even some villains, right? It doesn't matter who's fighting. A lot of times I care about the battle. I think the characters are a driving force for me in all my favorite anime. And then the final thing, like just going over very quickly, because I don't know when you guys are going to end this stream. Also, the moments. I feel like One Piece has some of the most hype moments, like in anime.
Yeah, my thing.
Anytime, yeah, exactly. Anytime I think of Usopp burning down that flag, I have goosebumps.
That's a good one. I like Bellamy getting punched by Luffy. That's one of the best.
Oh man, I love that so much.
Oh, that's great.
Oh my goodness.
I mean,
there's good stuff there.
Yeah, there's good stuff. Not only that for us Westerners, but more the fact is Japan itself. Because don't forget, Luffy itself is an ambassador for the 2020 Tokyo Summer Olympics as well, with Astro Boy, Sailor Moon, those guys. So if we don't like One Piece, Japan loves them. he's representing Japan for Olympics. So if you haven't heard of One Piece, I'm sure you heard of it after 2020.
That's true.
Going back to moments from the characters though that I love, I think the thing that he does such a good job of he sets up reasons to love the characters, right? Yeah. There's a lot of characters that are sometimes introduced in other series where they look cool and thus you must like the character, right? But when you look at somebody
Bleach.
like
that's Bleach right there.
Well, I mean, I'm not here to crap on Bleach fans, but Like if you just look at Brook, for example, Brook is this goofy talking skeleton who's asking to see people's panties the first time we meet him. And then by the end of the arc, you know his tragic story. You know that he was the last surviving member of this crew that waited, you know, they were
50 years,
talking to
man.
Laboon,
50
hanging out.
years.
Exactly. Laboon's been waiting on the other side of the world. He's like, we're going to come back to you. And then now they set it up where you feel for Brook. You want him to meet Laboon again. Like I genuinely care about those two characters interacting again because of the way that story was set up.
And so when we finally hear the words, Luffy, is it all right if I join your crew? And Luffy's like, of course. It was almost as powerful as, I guess you're a member now, Jinbei. Okay, sounds cool. Just as powerful,
exactly.
Man. Just as powerful.
Thank you for bringing up that point, because I've seen a lot of people saying that, like, well, what are you talking about? That was amazing the way Jinbei joined the crew. No. What? Like, you comparing that to how Brook joined, it's like two totally different manga series.
You know, some people will probably bring up, I mean, I don't know if anyone has, but I like to play devil's advocate to myself. Like, it's true that, like, when Usopp joined the crew, basically what happened was similar to Jinbei in the fact that everyone just assumed that he was in the crew, and they're like, just get on, Usopp, it's time to go. And he's like, what? He didn't have to like ask to join or anything. But like when you compare the difference of like the timing and everything different, it's no, like at this point, you got to earn your fucking place in the Straw Hats. And I'm not saying Jinbei hasn't done stuff. I'm saying the pomp and circumstance was all wrong. I don't know. Listen to the podcast for more.
Look, I like Jinbei. I like Usopp,
like...
but Usopp's arc in the beginning was meh.
Well, yeah, Surf Village is one of the worst arcs of the series. So,
and that's getting back full circle. The appeal of One Piece is not in the first like 50 episodes.
Well, like, see, but like if you just take out the Usopp arc, like Baratier, Arlong, oh my god, even the first like, okay, I'm thinking the first chapter of One Piece.
I'm telling you right now, Geen top 5. Geen's coming back. Any fucking chapter now. You're gonna see that.
Who's Geen?
Who that?
The guy with the fucking
the most powerful character? Yeah, he's
No, to be honest, for One Piece, it got exciting. For One Piece, it got exciting when we met Mihawk for the first time. In that chapter, when we saw Mihawk versus Zoro, that's when it appealed to me as a story that One Piece got exciting. For Zoro to meet his potential guy who was a beat so early in the series, that was like, wow.
I know. I watched Bleach before One Piece, and basically I saw that and I was like, he has such a big sword. Why isn't Zoro dead? Screw this. Finish.
I'm gonna ask you guys a question just because I like to find out what other people think about this. Do you think Zoro's final opponent is Mihawk, or do you think it's Shiryu?
Gotta be Mihawk.
Okay, who's Shiryu?
I'm in Shiryu, Roger. I'm in Shiryu.
I'm Team Shiryu too.
Who's Shiryu?
Shiryu is the Blackbeard swordsman, but he has been so far. I mean, he just
has way. It doesn't make sense for you to fight against your teacher. You know, like, oh, I want to beat you. I want to kill you. Please
gotta be neither of them.
Please train me. Now I want to kill you again to be the best swordsman.
I think it is both more likely, and with my, my whatever degree of genre savviness I have, I feel that the Mihawk duel makes the most sense for the character. That's my
absolutely.
Also, think about it. I feel like Luffy's like the Straw Hats have to fight Blackbeard.
Okay,
like,
so I'm just gonna put it out there. There's no way Blackbeard's the final enemy.
No, he's
they're gonna have to fight them before they get the One Piece. 100% they have to fight Blackbeard, and then afterwards, I feel like it's gonna be a big fight against the Marines.
I'll have to write my big theory one day because this is crazy.
I mean, what is One Piece at the end of the day? One Piece is the most egalitarian series. That's not the right word. It's the most fucking. It's not liberal, goddammit. It's about freedom. It's about freedom and doing whatever you want and smashing any goddamn systems that get in the way of what you're doing. It's anti-authoritarian. That's the word I'm looking for. And like, what does it make sense to be the final opponent in that series? Like, could it be Blackbeard, who just represents a sort of different interpretation of freedom? Maybe, but I could also see it pretty clearly just being like the Goro set. Not maybe. I don't know. They could be super powerful guys, but like
will be.
some
It'll
version,
be their boss or something.
The final challenge that One Piece has to overcome, or that the Straw Hats have to overcome, I would say, is the authoritarian nightmare that is the world government itself in some capacity.
Absolutely. Because Blackbeard to me, the way he is being set up, I feel like is going to be the main villain of whatever the Raftel arc is, right? They get to Raftel, they're about to find out whatever, this secret of the world is. And I think it's going to come down to a decision, and it's telegraphed a lot in the story, of Luffy standing up for his friends and Blackbeard not caring so much about his crew, he cares more about the title of Pirate King and not the idea of freedom, right? And I think that's what it's ultimately going to come down to in Raftel, and I think that's ultimately what's going to be Blackbeard's demise before we even get back to Mari Joa and get back to the world government. I think Blackbeard will probably, because I think Blackbeard is being set up in a way where a lot of people will be like, well, of course he's the final villain. I mean, he, but I don't think he is. I think he's going to be the final villain.
We'll be getting into Blackbeard. We'll be getting into Blackbeard territory right after Wano.
Well, I don't know about that.
Well, we don't know how much they're going to extend the story.
It'll be him and Shanks, and it'll be a massive arc.
The only way Luffy will face up against Blackbeard is two things. One, he kills Shanks, which is 50-50. And two, if Blackbeard becomes the next Pirate King, then that's when Luffy has to defeat him to become the Pirate King.
Nah, not gonna happen.
I want more than anything a Shanks v Blackbeard battle where Blackbeard kills Shanks, and then we move on.
He already
defeated
Yonko.
That's the thing, though, is if you automatically beat, like a lot of people look at it like this, if you automatically beat a Yonko, then you become a Yonko. That's not how it works.
Well, Blackbeard's already Yonko.
If Blackbeard becomes the Pirate King and Luffy beats Blackbeard before getting to the world government, that doesn't automatically make him the Pirate King if some of the older Yonko are still out there to be dealt with, with the world government. The Pirate King, the title of Pirate King is the person who is the freest in the world. So even if Blackbeard sees the title of Pirate King as just being the person who discovers Raftel, right, that's not going to ultimately make him Pirate King. What's going to make somebody Pirate King is, again, being the one who everybody acknowledges is the Pirate King.
Frankly, I feel like I'm so confident. With
Briggs is confident. He's confident in my theory.
Oh, your theory is fantastic. Okay, but I'm very confident that like Blackbeard versus Luffy is gonna happen Raftel or just before Raftel, like fighting to get the One Piece, whatever, and then afterwards they're gonna fight against the world government. Like I feel like that's what
we already frankly know what's going to happen with the world government because of the prophecy that what's her face made, Madame Shirley, whatever her name was, Arlong's sister in Fishman Island. Like we know for a fact that Luffy is going to destroy Fishman Island, and I don't know if you guys agree, but I think one incredibly likely theory is the theory of like the world-ending weapon or whatever it is being used to destroy. Like we know that Fishman Island is directly below Mari Joa. So and the fact that knowing that and knowing that the arc is definitely going to be relevant in some way, like there's no question in my mind that we're gonna blow the fuck up out of Mari Joa towards the end of One Piece, and that's that's gonna form All Blue. That's gonna exist now. It's going to allow Fishman Island to rise up, or all the people ride the arc up from there. And so like that seems to me, since I consider that such a likely thing to actually happen, it seems like that's going to be the way that the world government like is ultimately dealt with. So I don't know if it really constitutes like a big fight between people, as opposed to like, I mean, it is One Piece, so we're always going to want fights, and Oda's going to be incentivized to like make fights happen. But it like that seems to me to be how the world government is like going to be dealt with, and whether or not that involves like a big duel thing, or whether or not like Blackbeard will be the final boss that's like the gatekeeper to the weapon that you can just like push a button and then that happens. I don't know. We'll have to see. But I personally feel strongly that that's likely to happen. Do you guys put any credence in this theory? Do you agree that that's
the red line being destroyed and then like falling on top of Fishman Island? Yeah, absolutely.
That sounds like a great idea. It's been like about 5 years now, this theory, where they use like one of the weapons, like one piece of Pluton, to destroy the red line. And they use the red line to become, one whole island where everybody lives as one. The fishermen get their dream in regards to living above with everybody else, and Sonic is all blue. So this theory is the most likely one.
Yeah, but see, that's part of why One Piece is so great, though.
I do. Right. Well, Nail in the chat asks if NL will make a reappearance.
Yes,
so
for sure, no doubt.
Of course he will.
Yep.
Oh man,
Eminem.
I have to work on this theory now. Oh my gosh! Every time I talk about One Piece, I want to finish this stupid thing.
I honestly feel like Final War, we're gonna see everybody.
Do it.
Yeah, there's no doubt in my mind. In the Final War, probably every single person that Luffy has met will fight alongside him in some capacity. I don't know what that's gonna mean. Maybe against the world government in some capacity. I even like the Marines have good people. Do you honestly like at the end of the series, Smoker like still being like antagonistic against Luffy, except in some capacity as like, you represent, a different lifestyle than I like. There's no way that Smoker is going to fight to like defend slavery and like shit like that the world government endorses. Right. He's a good boy. So
I don't even think Fujitora is going to do that, which is what makes Reverie so exciting.
Fujitora's already gone.
Yep. Yeah, he's
already on
I love Mugiwara Matt B had this theory, and I immediately was like, yep, I totally agree with this, which is that like it's been set up already in Dressrosa that Fujitora's main goal for the Reverie is to abolish the Chichibukai system, and he's already at odds with Akainu. And the other big thing that seems pretty likely is that if there is a meeting of all of the nobles of the world, you better believe Dragon, or at the very least some of the revolutionaries, are going to want to show up there. So if that's the case, you have the revolutionaries whose goal is to take down the world government and abolish all of these systems, right there with the character whose sole purpose is to abolish one of the things that he hates about the world government. I could honestly see, no pun intended, Fujitora seeing eye to eye with the revolutionaries and then being like, you know what? In this one instance, our ideals sort of
I could see him fully joining the revolutionaries.
Every big event.
To be
definitely.
honest, I think that the big death at the end of One Piece will be Dragon. He will die to the main boss of the series, who's going to be the leader of the world government somehow.
I mean, every event, and I mean that's possible. Every event that has been like a big world-changing cataclysmic thing has every single time in One Piece it's involved Blackbeard. So I personally think that the Revolutionary Army could certainly be involved with this.
Are you thinking of one thing?
What?
Like how many things has Blackbeard done that did this? It was like more or less one thing.
Everything that he's done has been about seizing power on the world stage, and like he's been working like basically all the big things. Like the first major one was the duel between Blackbeard and Ace on Bonero Island. Like that was the thing that set off, like that made the big war of the best happen. And then he also shows up there and steals fucking Whitebeard's fucking devil fruit as part of his master plan to become a Yonko, take over the world, become pirate king.
Oh man, did you see the Joy Boy on that? Oh,
I did not. Why? What's he have to say about it? In summary, he has the power of two people, so he can get more than one devil fruit. Chimera devil fruit. He ate the Zoan Chimera devil fruit. I'm telling you right now, it means he's got the 3 most powerful devil fruits in the world. The strongest Paramecia, the strongest. It's a shitty theory. It's not true.
Yes.
I see a lot of people bring up that Chimera theory, and I just think that is so weird considering it's already been set up who has the strongest zone pretty clearly, which is Kaido. So if anything's going to happen,
Kaido, that's big mustache guy.
Blackbeard steals Kaido's devil fruit, then he has the strongest Paramecia, the strongest Logia, and the strongest zone, and then that sets it up for the end of the series.
Why? I've always seen this. You think that his dark fruit is the strongest?
Well, he claims
he said it is most of them, but he's already been. Yeah, it's been stated that it is.
Oh, I mean, I never really agreed that like it doesn't actually seems. I mean, obviously, he said it's got a lot of downsides too.
Right.
But like, don't forget, Blackbeard waited literally decades to get this devil fruit on Whitebeard's crew. He could. I'm sure he had other devil fruits to pick from, being a member of that crew.
It kind of seems like he's off poaching devil fruits at this point with Bonnie and everything.
Right.
I mean, I think that we're gonna do with either Blackbeard. I mean, Blackbeard's plan to me, like, why did he wait?
Blackbeard needs more teeth.
Yami no Mi.
Definitely needs more teeth.
He needs to drink some milk, like Luffy. There's no doubt in my mind that Blackbeard tactically waited for the Yami no Mi, and I'm like 99.9% sure it's because he knew he needed that devil fruit so that he could eat other people's devil fruits too. It's like the one with this special power. That just seems like the most likely thing.
And negating
I don't know.
Well, that too.
Maybe. I know there was this one thing when Ace was chasing him right in the beginning when Luffy bumped into him on Alabasta and he says, Blackbeard has 2 people within him. He said something
don't. That is the worst. People say that and they're so stupid. They're so dumb.
I don't know.
Bring that up.
They're
obviously talking about his goddamn crew that was also there who they bumped into in that chapter. The simple Occam's razor, dude. Everyone remember this. Occam's fucking razor. The simplest explanation is probably the accurate one. Why make up these crazy theories about how Blackbeard, like there's a much easier explanation. Blackbeard waited so long to get the Yami no Mi. Why did he do that? Because of this one thing that we later saw him do, get a second devil fruit that was by far the biggest event the world had like ever seen. That's why he did it. It's so simple. And
fine. So what about the Yami no Mi has this power?
It's darkness. You can take your powers. I don't know.
We're talking about the Yami no Mi. We're talking about all this other stuff. What's more
best
important?
guy ever?
Blackbeard.
Hunting Go ahead.
Best
guy ever is acting like he's not a YouTuber, bro. Like YouTuber theorists, like we would be out of work if Occam's razor was our
that's the problem. Yeah. All right, what were you saying, Roger?
I was just gonna say that, like, let's look at Blackbeard hunting down Whitebeard's subordinates. Right? He's hunting down Whitebeard's subordinates, and it was foreshadowed very early in the series that Zoro one day wants to be able to cut diamond. Whitebeard had a subordinate who had a diamond devil fruit power, and Blackbeard's crew is hunting down the power specifically of old Whitebeard crewmates. You've got Shiryu, who is the swordsman of Blackbeard's crew, and Blackbeard, we know, is gathering up these devil fruits to feed them to his crewmates, because Burgess was going to eat Ace's old devil fruit. That was how it was the whole setup. Burgess was going to eat it. If they end up taking down Jozu, Shiryu could then eat Jozu's devil fruit power, have the power of diamond, and that would set up Zoro's fight.
You know, that's a cool idea.
Exactly.
I have a question though. About that. Like, what difference does it make to a swordsman if he's eaten a devil fruit or not? Like, he's a swordsman, so like, what?
Okay, because now the swordsman's indestructible. Okay, very nice.
But what does that even?
No, but so Blackbeard's crew's whole thing is they feel like, I don't know if they feel like this necessarily, but it seems like they feel like that power comes from amassing devil fruits, right? The strongest thing in the world that they're trying to go after are the strongest devil fruits, whereas Zoro just wants to be the greatest swordsman. So it doesn't matter if he has a devil fruit or whatever. What matters is that he can beat anybody who is proficient in swordsmanship. And so that, again, sets up that fight against Shiryu.
Well, you know what?
Look, I don't doubt that this fight is going to occur. I just don't think it's Zoro's big climax at the end of the series.
Well, you know,
I don't think so either. I think it would be cool if he ends up fighting Mihawk at the end of all of it, but I do think it's likely.
I personally have a tendency to, this isn't an insult, but like I tend to overthink what Oda's going to do in the story. Like I had these crazy theories at the beginning of Whole Cake about how Pudding was going to be a secret triple agent, and how Oda clearly, like, he wouldn't have introduced this amazing devil fruit power for her if he didn't have some real like elaborate plan, because memory manipulation is like the most amazing thing you could possibly do. You could control the world with this devil fruit. But in reality, sometimes Oda just likes to do silly shit. And I think that's all it was with her devil fruit. Like it didn't do one important thing in the entire arc. Like the thing with Reiju, oh my god, like the first time we see this devil fruit at work, she removes Reiju's memory only to like the next chapter, like Sanji like tells Reiju exactly what happened to her. It was a complete waste of time. It would have been exactly the same if nothing had happened. I mean, it allowed them to like, you know, think that Reiju didn't know when they actually did, but fuck, it doesn't matter. So when it comes to that stuff, I could definitely see Oda wanting to do something cool. Like there was a moment when he fought Mr. One, he learned to cut steel. It was like literally the greatest moment of Zoro's fighting career, except maybe against maybe Kuma. Kuma might be better.
Might be better.
Well, emotionally, Kuma is better. That's true. Like
I thought Zoro beating Pico was cooler.
Are you? Oh, what?
And I also thought,
Why?
I know you have issues with the climax of Dressrosa. But that was
explain that to me. How can
I can explain that to you? And also, another scene that was cooler with Zoro was in Fishman Island, where underwater he beat Hody Schmody Jones, whatever his name.
I mean, that was cool, but it just kind of fucking it cucked the whole arc. Tragically, it just like the big boss was beaten by the number 2 of the Straw Hats. I mean,
the big boss wasn't meant to be the big boss. He wasn't meant to be a big boss.
Okay, but we always have to keep in mind what kind of a story One Piece is, and just like how I can overthink what One Piece is, because I don't know, not to suck my own dick, but I read on a slightly higher level than One Piece is like generally written at. You know, like there is an expectation when you're reading like a shonen about like how things will go, and don't get like I love how Fishman Island eventually turned out, and basically the non-enemy that turned out to be like the motivation for all those characters. That was incredible. It was genius. But
yeah,
like,
I love
it was weird. Like it was weird at the time. Nobody expected, and considering what One Piece is, frankly, it's a little too smart for what One Piece generally does, and it felt strange to people, and I think that's why people have this kind of like strange feeling about Fishman Island.
I think people have a strange feeling about Fishman Island is because it came right after the time skip. We didn't really know what was happening, and the pacing was way out of whack in the anime.
If that had happened like after fucking like Punk Hazard or something instead, in some way like that, it might have just like fit a lot better, and people might have.
Yeah, this is what appeals me to One Piece in general, because here's what Roger said. All these little panels, these little predictions, it all comes somewhere. For example, Brother Blackbeard, why are you predicting he has two people inside him? Because that one panel, it's they, it's not them. Another thing, Laboon. We talked about Laboon. Almost 4 years later, we met Brook. These little hints are a foreshadow for the future. This is what appeals me more about One Piece. We're talking about Fisherman Island just because Madame Shirley had a prediction that Luffy would destroy Fisherman Island in her vision. This was makes One Piece the most appealing, seeing what could happen with these little hints.
And that's another thing that a lot of people don't give the manga credit for, and it's just like I just think the manga is just a better experience across the board, and it's for that reason.
That, we need Roger back off mute.
I'm here.
Oh, sick! What do you think about Whole Cake Island anime versus manga?
It's better than the manga.
Yeah, that's.
I mean, that seems to be the consensus.
It is better than the manga because if you look at all of those different musical sequences, the way that Oda wrote them on the page, obviously you can't get music across or a melody across on paper. And Oda's whole thing with this arc is sort of setting up this Disney-esque kind of musical land. And so the anime literally makes it better by turning all of those songs into actual melody.
Well, don't get
of course, and even the pacing is better. Like we're finding out information in the anime that really should have been there in the manga. Like the anime clarifies that, oh yeah, Bobbin was killed by Vito. Vito mentions like, oh yeah, we took care of him, but doesn't say outright, oh, we killed Bobbin. The anime is like, nope, they definitely killed Bobbin. The stakes are actually raised in the anime. And again, all the sequences with like Streusen making the cake and the Big Mom song, they are just better in the anime. The tension is there. You could feel the emotion behind a lot of those scenes. I feel like Luffy and Sanji was better in the anime even.
Well, that is true. That is true of the Whole Cake Island arc, which is the newest one. That's definitely true. But we mustn't forget the decades where we had just a shit anime, just a really shit anime that was just like one episode for one chapter, which meant they stretched out as much as they needed to make it fucking fit. That's why One Piece exists in recognition of this problem, you know. But the only thing I want to say that like Bink Sake, obviously superior in the anime. One of the greatest moments of any anime I've ever seen. Legendary. But what I was gonna.
Which
what
moment?
The fuck do you mean? Oh, Bink Sake, the Brook song at the end of
no sake o todoke yo ware ware kaizoku mi wa teku.
I gotta learn the whole words one day.
Yeah, I haven't seen
it. There you go.
Look, I'm currently advocating for reading the manga, but you owe it to yourself if you're a fan of One Piece to experience Bink Sake in musical form in the anime.
Okay.
That is
I will
by
check
far.
it up. Look, my experience with One Piece, I basically read the whole One Piece within the last year and a half. And basically I watched like my favorite moments in the anime. That's my experience.
I think that's the right way to go, generally speaking. And just the reason I was just going to say is that when you're reading the manga, like Oda just is so dense of a writer and will put such cool little Easter eggs into places where you might not see it. Like cover arcs, for example. If you're watching the anime, you don't get no fucking cover arcs. So that sucks.
Right.
So there's and that's the most obvious example. But all the time, like in the background, like the whole Panda Man stuff, you know, fucking little characters that one funny little thing is that you can read a chapter back and see something that you didn't notice the first time. Like if you remember in fucking Shabani Archipelago, at the slave auction, there's a pirate who bites off his tongue and seemingly dies. Way later in the arc, totally unaddressed, is that in one of the shots of the crowd, we see that character who is still alive. He's like yelling and his tongue is out and his tongue has been chopped off. So like, and that shit ain't in the fucking anime. That's the little stuff you only get, you know, in subtle ways that actually reward you for more investment, for more critical reading, and paying attention to every little detail that's happening. And just that experience for me just has made the manga such a joy every chapter to read.
Just get that in the manga too with Charlotte Moscato, Minister of Gelato.
Yeah, that's right.
In the background.
Yep. So. He's alive, boys.
Yeah,
congrats.
Great.
And Law's awesome, but I think we have to stop.
I just want to say, like, the reason why I dislike Fishman Island, because you guys were talking about that earlier. I feel like I had this huge boner off of like the time skip of like what was going to happen, and then Oda made me wait years and years and years to find it, like to get these reveals. When I was expecting more out of the Fishman Island arc, and the pacing was horrible, but the conclusion to Fishman Island was great.
I don't know. I remember I caught up to reading the manga week by week. Right when Ninja Guy was introduced in Zou. That was the chapter that I caught up. So
I feel like a lot of people A lot of
That
people
guy.
are complaining about Whole Cake Island's pacing, right? And going back to something in regards to like the future of the series is that, again, I think the reason a lot of people were upset by it were due to the expectations that the arc was going to fly by.
Agreed.
But like going into Wano country, I don't know if I'm alone here. Wano could literally go on for 3 years. Right now, I could tell you it could go on for 3 years, and I would be fine with it.
I'm
Because
hoping for
this is
at least
something that
3 years.
Oda's been clearly setting up for such a long time. Has all these ideas. There's so many things we already know about that are going to happen. Kaido, the Shogun. Probably going to have an Odin flashback. We already know we're going to get an Ace flashback.
Yeah,
Stuff with
it links really well as well. Like his one-shot manga, Monsters.
Exactly. It's
Like,
like,
I mean, and
this
this
has been set up for years. So like for me, that is something that if that ends up being a super long arc and people are going, oh, you know, why have we been in Wano for so long? That is when I will defend Oda and be like, no. This has been set up for a long time. Enjoy
100%.
the journey. To me, Wano, I know a lot of people looked at Zoe as sort of like the Skypiea, like a mini version of Skypiea, but I truly feel like Wano is going to be that adventure arc. We have all these islands, the stuff with Zoro. Like that is when I really want him to dive deep into the culture of this island. And not really like we didn't really need that in Whole Cake Island. We got Nuts Island and Puffs Island and all that stuff. But that is what I am excited for in Wano country.
Agree. And don't forget, it's based on Japan itself, the old Japan. When the doors were closed, something will be awesome. This one.
Wano's
And to take best guy ever's phrasing, not to suck my own dick here, but my law theory on what's going to happen in Wano. I'm almost so certain that that's actually what's going to happen.
What's your theory?
You saw it. You commented.
Oh, your video. Sorry. You're talking about the immortality fruit thing.
No, that was probably Joy Boy.
Oh, I'm mixing up these theories. I got
There's a lot of theories
rewatch now.
There's a lot of theories, to be fair. I've been trying to avoid talking
This
about
is the
your
one,
final
basically,
theory.
in a nutshell. Since it's out already,
entire stream.
I could spoil my. Sorry, Briggs.
Sorry, I was just saying, like, I've been trying to avoid talking about your final theory this entire stream.
No, the final theory is off the table here.
Final theory.
But this one, the Wano one, basically in a nutshell, we have a lot of big things that Law did, right? He's gonna still do more cool stuff.
Right.
The theory is kind of based off the Napoleonic War.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
How Trafalgar de Law, there was the Battle of Trafalgar, right, in Spain, which was Dressrosa, and then there's the Battle of Trafalgar de Waterloo. There's the Battle of Waterloo, which is the final battle of the French, which is basically going to be Wano. And I'm pretty certain that it's going to mirror a ton of stuff that, whatever, you can watch the video. I don't need to say it here. But
no, but now that you reminded me, yeah, because the reason I liked that so much is because Oda has done that with the series before, where he's sort of setting up these characters based on real life events or real life characters. And they're not exactly one-to-one, obviously. Anne Bonny and Jewelry Bonny are two different people, but there's a lot of stuff that's sort of mirrored there. But the one thing that I think is integral, even to what you were talking about with the Waterloo thing, is X-Drake, because back during Dressrosa, during his setup,
cool.
Right, they were on the same island when all that stuff went down, and Drake is based on the Commodore who opened the borders of Japan. So
right.
that's
I mentioned that in my video,
I know, which is why I think it's awesome. Yeah.
So now you know what to expect for the final one.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Anyway, so the appeal of One Piece is you could talk about it for hours and not get bored.
That is an excellent summary of the good things about One Piece.
And you're missing out. You're missing out if you're not watching it.
Reading it.
Reading it, of course. Then watch it.
Just had to clarify that.
Of course. Read it, everyone.
Yeah.
So, like, I guess we've gone on. Maybe we could do One Piece Part 2 or pick different topics in the future, because this was awesome.
This was fun, yeah.
Yeah,
awesome.
Sure was.
So, with us today, everyone's links are in the description. Check everyone out. They're all awesome. I mean, some better than others, of course, but you know, they're all awesome.
So there's a reason why I'm here every week, right?
Yeah, you're the best of us all. We have Briggs from All Day Anime.
Outro?
Yeah, outro.
Cool. Yeah. I don't know if you're going to do it or I was going to do it. It's different every week. So I'm Briggs from All Day Anime. I'll explain every little thing you need to know about your favorite characters and shows. And yeah, that's about it.
We have Mr. Panda.
Guys, Flying Panda here. Guy who gets theories correctly, loves everything about One Piece. Look at
theories correctly is an interesting choice.
And that's why I love doing One Piece. And guys, please like this stream.
He's correct 110% of the time. It's not a theory when it's Panda.
Thanks, bro.
Right. We also have the best guy ever.
Yo, I got my channel, Best K Ever, but if you want to hear me talk at extensive length about One Piece, you should check out the Podcast. Me and Hypocrite do a YouTube podcast specifically talking about every chapter of One Piece that comes out. So and we go on for like fucking hours at a time. So you're gonna want to
but his actual channel's in the description. He does good stuff also aside from just podcasts. Like
that's true.
Like I don't know how appealing. Come to my channel. You don't know me, but come to my channel. We talk for hours on end.
Well, if you heard me talk, you'd know why you want to be there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, usually, whatever, we get your handsome appearance also.
That's true. On my main channel. Yep.
No, I asked him. Definitely subbing for you guys.
I asked him once. So, like, what's your strategy here? He's like, oh, I'm dashingly handsome. I'm like, oh, that's a good YouTube strategy.
Yeah, I mean, it works out pretty well.
Yeah, I guess. So he also has great acronyms for the names of his series, like Mia Mafava and
Weagawa. Yeah, Weagawa 2. Weagawa season 2 coming soon, baby. Keep your eyes peeled.
We're all hyped. We also have the legend himself, Roger's Base.
Oh, that's very nice. Well, you can find me at Rogers Base on YouTube, on Twitter, on Instagram. I do live reactions and reviews of One Piece every single week, both the anime and the manga. Though recently I've been sort of busy, so I haven't been covering the anime. And if you're into it, I love Nintendo stuff, so I do Nintendo videos on top of all the One Piece stuff, and you could probably check that out by clicking the link in the description below. Thanks for having me. This was a lot of fun.
Definitely my pleasure. You're invited back, of course.
Great.
And if you look at his logo, it has the Smash logo in his skull, right?
It does. Yeah, it's got the Smash logo. It's got hidden Mickeys.
It's got Mickeys.
So it's got the Pokeball. It's got the Princess Mononoke goes.
Oh my God!
Is Luffy confirmed for the next Smash?
I hope so. I want him in arms. I think he'd make more sense.
Oh, he would be. Oh my God, a specialty
hilarious
character. Damn, that's a great idea.
And we also have the other host of the Rant Cafe, sometimes on his channel, Anime Uproar.
Hey, everybody. I am Admiral of Fish Cake Island. I had a blast. Learning about One Piece. I'm actually going to go start reading the first chapter of the manga right after this. Because I've been putting it off for long enough.
Successful.
Guys, it worked. We succeeded.
My dream is to create a story that will make me billions of dollars like One Piece.
That's the way to go, man. That's the way to go. Follow One Piece's example.
Oh, yes.
Follow the money, man. Well, thanks, everyone. Would you like to do your cringy outro, Animek?
Yeah, of course. Thanks, everybody, for watching. And until next time, see ya, Space Cowboys.
Bang!